right. We will just let people filter in as they filter in. We'll go ahead and just get started. Thank you all for being here today. We're incredibly excited to share some really great content with you throughout the day. And then for those of you who can stay for lunch, we'll have lunch. Is everybody aware of the schedule for today? Okay, so I'm on from 10 to 11. And then let's see, we've got Carly from 11 to 12. We'll do a break for lunch. You can check messages, return phone calls, emails, things of that nature. And then we have Zach picking up from 1 to 2, Drake from 2:15 to 3:15, and then Dylan is going to end the day strong with some really amazing content from 3:30 to 4:30. So stay for what you can. If you can stay for the whole day, amazing. We would love that. If you can't because you have other obligations, we certainly understand. If you got to pop in and pop out, that's okay too. So you'll find that our day with every instructor is going to be very interactive and collaborative. So we want this to be a conversation, and feel free to share best practices, because we're going to have all kinds of different types of agents in the room, from brand new agents that are just getting started to agents who have been in the business for a while, to some really seasoned agents who have been in even longer than I have. So not to bore you guys to death, because I know a lot of you in the room have sat through some of my classes before, but some of it may sound a little familiar. It's kind of like any other training or classes that you take. Sometimes you have to hear it. Thank you. Sometimes you have to hear it once or twice before it sinks in. So the reason why I chose the topic of the class that I'm going to teach today is because the market has changed. Would you agree? Who in the room feels or thinks or has experienced the market change that we've gone through? Yeah. Everyone. Hi, Molly. Come on in. Trying to say, for some reason, everyone's shy of the middle and the front. I don't know why. I don't bite, I promise. There'll become a point in time where they don't have a choice, right? Lost my train of thought there. That will happen. I'll just warn you right now. I am of an age where sometimes it just comes and goes. It goes as quickly as it comes. So I may need your assistance in helping me get back on track if that happens. So please feel free to. I'd like to start off by just telling you a little bit about me, because we do have some guests in the room who might not know my story, and you'll understand why I like to give my background as I build up to the topic today, which is finding business in a new market, right? How do we do that? So when I got into the business just over 22 years ago, good morning, Sherry. I was brand new to the state of Minnesota. Didn't know a soul. So didn't have the familial contacts, friends, people that I went to high school with, grade school, college, all that good stuff. So we relocated here with my husband, Steve's job. For those of you who know Steve, he was in the IT industry with 4 little kids. And so it was the first time in our married life where I didn't have to work if I didn't want to. Up until then, we got married young, had kids young. So I was working 2 jobs. We were both putting ourselves through college. I had girlfriends that were stay-at-home moms that sounded amazing to me. Like, what? That's, what you get to do every day. And so when we relocated here, I thought, well, I'm going to try that. I'm going to get the kids settled. I didn't know Lakeville from Woodbury, from Plymouth. I didn't even know my way around the cities, let alone how to get to the grocery store. So what I did was I took that first year and just kind of got everyone acclimated. The extent of my adult interaction at that time was dropping the kids off and waving at the other parents in the school pickup drop-off line, right? I wasn't doing a whole lot other than just taking care of the family and setting up the house. And then I decided, you know what, this staying home thing is nice, it's fun, but I knew I needed something more. I needed something to keep me active, to keep my brain active, to feel like I was growing in some sort of way. Right? Being a mom is amazing, and I absolutely loved that, but I needed something to feel like I was growing and evolving. And so there was a neighbor lady who was in real estate, and she said, you should try your hand at it. Well, I had contemplated real estate several years prior, but it was back when we lived in Iowa. And ironically, when I look back at it now, I think to myself, my entire sphere was there. I grew up there. Like, that would have been the place to start your real estate career, right? But it was at a time in our married lives where we were growing this family, and commission only scared the heck out of me. So I had always avoided it. And so when she brought it up again in Minnesota, when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, I thought, okay, I don't know anyone who in their right mind is going to want to list their home with me or buy a home with me because I don't have any experience yet. But then I also had the thought of, if I fail and fall completely on my face, nobody's going to know. No one's going to know. And I had always been mildly interested in real estate. So I thought, what the heck, threw caution to the wind, went and signed up for classes, got my real estate license. And I know some of you in the room have heard me tell the story before. My husband hates it when I share it. But I showed up at the office day one, and I looked around. Lanier, hi. You guys get the award for traveling the furthest. Lanier and Tiana came from Albert Lee this morning to come and attend the training today. Welcome, guys. Welcome. Thanks for being here. First day at my brand new real estate office, it wasn't Keller Williams. I started at an office where the girl who suggested I get into real estate was. It was a 4-minute drive from my home. Good morning, guys. And jumped in feet first. And that was before we had productivity coaching programs, and before we had this kind of training in the market center. We had like a once a week meeting, and that was it. And I remember sitting down and looking around thinking like, okay, what do I do next? I had just turned in all my onboarding paperwork at the front desk, and I looked to my left and there were agents kind of buzzing around, and I looked to my right and there was really no one around. And I thought, panic set in. I felt panic set in, and I thought, what am I going to do? Like, what do I do next? There was no one there to hold my hand and show me the way. And I remember thinking, oh my God, I just made a huge mistake. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, where do I start? And I took a minute and stepped away and called my husband, and this is why he hates me telling this story. And I, through tears, said, I think I just made a huge mistake. I don't know what I was thinking. And for those of you who know him, he's a Marine, right? So kind of this tough exterior. And he said to me, I'm like just waiting for words of comfort. It's okay, honey. You'll be all right. No, the words that came out of his mouth were, suck it up, buttercup. Like, you made the decision to do this. Like, roll up your sleeves. Zach's creeping on me. Roll up your sleeves. You'll figure it out. Are you trying to throw me off my game? Yeah. Exactly. So suck it up, buttercup, you'll figure it out. And I remember thinking, well, I can't say what I was thinking, but I wiped my tears, and I remember thinking, well, that didn't feel very supportive. But in retrospect, and 5 minutes later, I realized he had said to me exactly what I needed to hear. He was right. Like, suck it up, buttercup, roll your sleeves, figure it out. You can do it, right? And so I sat there for a moment thinking, okay, what can I do that's going to cost me very little? Because I had done nothing but spend money up until that point, right? You all remember getting your license. We were paying for classes, although we've got K-Score now, so we don't have to do that anymore. Paid for classes, paid for licensing, all of the memberships that you're required to pay for. And I thought, what am I going to do that's not going to cost a lot of money? And what do I have an abundance of right now? And I had an abundance of time because I didn't have a client. I didn't have any sort of business at all. And so I thought to myself, okay, well, what about open houses? And that's where I started. And this is why I share the story. This is why hopefully it's becoming abundantly clear as to why I shared that story. I focused on open houses. I teach an open house class. This is going to kind of be a hybrid of that class, because I know a lot of you have sat through that class before. So we're going to talk about that, and as well as some other things. But what I tell people is I'm going to fast forward. At the end of that year, I was Rookie of the Year that year. I think I closed 12 transactions my first year. Not a huge number, but a pretty good number for a brand new agent who had no sphere. And so what I tell people is, if I can do it, quite literally, anyone can find business and increase their business if you have the right mindset. And my mindset now, in retrospect, looking back, was I didn't have that negative voice in my head telling me that I couldn't or I shouldn't try something or do something. I just failed forward frequently and learned along the way. And so the open house class that I teach is full of advice that I learned by failing forward and making mistakes, or starting to recognize patterns that were working and patterns that weren't working. So again, I'm here to tell you, that if I was able to, move to a brand new state with zero sphere, not knowing what in the world I was doing prior to all of the technology and tools that we have today, oh my goodness, if I was able to build a really big business very quickly, then anyone can, especially if you have all of those things at your disposal and your fingertips right now that I didn't have when I first started real estate. So with that being said, anyone have any questions, comments around that at all before we get started? No. Okay. Just a real quick for our guests, bathrooms are right outside, just beyond the reception area when you first came in the front door. And then we also have some toward the back of the office. So, one of the things that I get asked often is, how are you able to fit everything that you need to get done into one day? Like, how is that even possible? Have any of you guys ever had one of those days where you get more accomplished in the first few hours than you normally would have done in a full day? Anybody? When does that usually happen? Right before vacation, when you plan it, right? Has anyone had that situation before where you're getting ready to leave for out of town for some sort of event and all of a sudden you are just like crazily focused, laser focused? It feels good, doesn't it? But why are we waiting until something like that to have that kind of day? If you think about elite athletes or elite performers of any kind, right? Those are the people who perform at the absolute highest level. And they're typically the type of people who get more done in a 6-hour window than most people get done in a 24-hour day. Why do you think that is? Anybody want to take a stab at that? Consistency, right? Up here, consistency. What else? I used another phrase just a few minutes ago. What do they have to be? Focus. Laser focused, right? They have to know exactly what it is they're going to do that day. And they have to follow through with whatever it is they're going to do that day without letting anything interfere with that day. Who here is guilty of, I'll raise my hand first. The night before, I have my day planned out. I know exactly what I'm going to do. And I'll check my email or get one phone call and go in a completely opposite direction than I intended on going that day. Anybody else have that happen to them? Yeah. It's called life, right? It's called human nature. It kicks in. I had to get to the point to where I won't allow myself to check my email anymore until I get to the office because, I was getting to office 30 minutes later than I wanted to because I was, on an email or on my phone or, whatever the case may be. So, the average person you compete against believes you have 24 hours in every day, right? We all say that. We all have the same 24 hours, but imagine how productive you'd be if you completed the same amount of work in 6 hours that you do in a normal 24-hour period. So there are enough hours in the day to break up your 24-hour period into what they say 3 6-hour mini days. Block it out 6-hour mini days. And I'm not just talking about work days. Obviously, that's 18 hours. No one's expecting you to work an 18-hour day, although sometimes it feels like we do. And sometimes we do, right? That has happened. But if you're really purposeful in your schedule and you break it up so that you can be hyper-focused on the things that you should be focused on, it really allows you to alleviate those distractions and they don't creep in nearly as much as they do when you don't have your schedule set up so that you can win the day. That's a term that I learned by going to some of Jeff Glover's training is, they set themselves up to win the day with a calendar that they're going to stick to no matter what in order to be able to overcome all of those distractions. Here's my clicker. I'm distracted. All right. So some of the things that he talks about as far as winning the day goes, and then we're going to jump into some of the slides here are number one, making sure that you commit to mastery. And they say that in order to master something, to really, really master something, you should have over 10,000 hours doing that skill. Whether it's lead generation, lead follow-up, a canned presentation. I know that sounds crazy, 10,000 hours, but time is on our side. You have time to be spending on things that you feel are important in your business and you should be. Where we tend to be inconsistent is when boredom creeps in, right? So it's important to make sure that you push through those moments where you feel like, this is just getting old, or I'm not seeing the results that I'd like to see. I've seen so many real estate agents over the years give up just before succeeding at a really high level. So you want to make sure that you're consistent. Then we already talked about owning the morning, own the day, adaptability. That is so important in the market that we're in right now. For those of you who have been in the real estate market for a little while, would you say that over the last 24 months, you've had to adapt the way that you do business? Anybody want to give me an example? Pam?
Pricing, it used to be so important. We kind of got lax with that, but now pricing has come back. It is key. You know what I mean? And so that's me, every time I go out on listing now, that it is, don't just test it. There's no testing anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the many ways. There's others. How have other people had to adapt the way they do business?
Well, I think that, because there's fewer buyers, fewer homes on the market, the other agents are hungry. We're all hungry for the business. And I just feel like every time I'm having a presentation, I'm up against a lot more agents. So you just have to be even that more focused on being prepared.
Absolutely. Yeah. Preparation is key, for sure. What else? Any others you guys can think of you want to share? Okay, so adaptability, let go of what worked in the past and remain curious about what may work in today's market. And then also clarity. We talked about that, having clarity on what you're doing, and not just what you're doing, but the why behind why you're doing it. Why are you doing it? Go back to the why. Number 5, play defense in a massive way against distraction. Talked about that a little bit already. What are some things that we can do in order to avoid distraction? We call that sometimes creating a bunker. Sometimes you're not always in that bunker, right? Turn your phone off, right? For years, Keller Williams has taught us that we should be doing lead generation between the hours of like 8 and 11 a.m., right? I tell people all the time, there's no such thing as an emergency in real estate. There really isn't. It would be a rarity, but it's typically not a life or death type of profession, right? I think you would agree. So there's no reason why, whatever it is you have to do that day, can't wait until after 11 or 10, whatever it is you do your lead generation, right? Not everyone's 8 to 11. Some people are later in the day. I get asked all the time, when is the best time to lead generate? And my answer is always the same: anytime. Anytime is the best time. There are studies that will give you specific times. But I'm here to tell you, after 22 years in this business, picking up the phone, getting in front of somebody, there's never a bad time to do that. So anytime is a good time to lead generate. Number 6, making sure that you're coachable and that you lean in hard. How do I show up to coaching? How do I show up when I'm given feedback? How do I show up to training? How are you showing up every day? Are you showing up with the right mindset? Zach's going to talk about mindset in today's market a little bit later today. And I would argue that is probably, the most lethal weapon in your tool belt in this kind of market, is making sure that you have a really great mindset, because it's super easy to fall prey to all of the negativity that's around us, to what we see on, TV, what we hear in the news. Good morning, Mo. Even sometimes we get caught in that sort of tidal wave, just being around certain people, right? And so protecting that mindset and making sure that you're showing up with a clear head and clear mind, and that positive attitude makes all the difference in the world. And then number 7 I have here is own your choices. You are where you are because you're okay with it. You must be, to a certain degree. You are where you are because you're okay with it. That's a tough one. Sometimes when I have to stop and do some self-reflection, realizing that if I've been struggling with something in particular, or the dial's not moving forward like I hoped it to be, if I'm being really honest with myself, it's probably because I've laid the groundwork of being okay with being in that spot at the moment. All right, so every choice we make is ours, and we should own that. Okay, so with that being said, we're gonna segue into Bill talked about consistency earlier. Consistency isn't only important in open houses, it's important in everything that we do. And you heard me say earlier that I've seen lots of agents over the years give up just before succeeding. And an analogy that I like to use a lot in real estate is I compare what we do to farming. Because what we should be doing every single day is planting seeds. What do I mean by that? Who can tell me what I mean by that? Someone new, shout it out. Mo.
Staying top of mind.
Staying top of mind. How do you stay top of mind, Mo? You're great at staying top of mind.
I do a lot of social media posting. I'm quite a bit, I do a lot of videos. I try to call people about it, but I think my social media does more. It keeps me out there a little bit.
Okay, so social media is what she's using to stay front of mind. What else do I mean by planting seeds?
Adding to your database.
Adding to your database. We should be doing that every day, right? Without a lead, our business does not exist, right? So our number one job every single day is to what? Lead generate, right? We should be adding people to our database every single day without fail. What are some of the ways that we can find people to add to our database? Give me some examples. I know y'all have been adding people to your database this year. You've done business with people this year. Door knocking, okay? You, Jessica, and Adam started door knocking how long ago? Consistently?
July,
In July. And you go out every
go 2 to 3 times a week.
2 to 3 times a week for how long?
We do about 30 doors.
Okay, so 2 to 3 times, each time you go out?
Yeah.
So about 100 doors a week?
Yeah.
If you're going out 3
Farm is
times?
500 right now.
Okay, their farmer is 500, they're door knocking approximately 100 doors a week,
Yeah.
going out 3 times a week. How long does it take you to do that 30 doors?
Not as long as you think.
Okay,
Depends on if they invite you in and talk to you.
an hour, less than an hour?
Probably like an hour and a half.
Okay,
Yeah.
an hour and a half.
at the most.
Okay. So they started in July, they've been consistent. Now, I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit. You may or may not have started to see a return on that yet. Are you?
Not yet.
Okay, but you're adding people to your database,
Mhm.
I would imagine,
Yeah.
right? And so we're gonna go back to the farming. They've been planting seeds since July. Imagine if they can continue to do this, and I know they will, through the end of the year, what things might look like in the spring. They're gonna wake up one morning and they're gonna have like a full harvest. They're gonna have so much, crop to like go through and harvest that, they're not gonna know what to do with themselves. And that's what I mean by agents giving up just before they succeed, because we are that society where we want immediate gratification. And it's so incredibly difficult when we don't see it, because you're like, well, that was just a waste of my Thursday afternoon, or I've been doing this since July and nothing has come of it yet, right? All good things take time, and you have to be patient, which goes along with the mindset of knowing going into this, it's not going to happen overnight. Now, you will on occasion, and this is kind of the cruelness of it all, a lead will fall in your lap. Who has had that happen before? 2 weeks ago, I had a lead fall in my lap, and we're going to be putting on the market in a couple of weeks, right? Like, oh, wow, where'd that come from? Wasn't even looking for it, right? That will happen. And what you have to resist is thinking that that's how it should always be, because it's not. That's a rarity. However, the more feelers you have out there, the more seed that you've planted in different areas doing different things, the more likely you will be to receive a lead that seems to have fallen or have come out of nowhere, right? So door knocking is a great method. If you guys aren't doing that, it might be something that you want to add to your tool belt. We're going to talk about several different things today, and one size doesn't fit all. Okay, there are some people that don't love open houses. There are some people that cringe at the thought of door knocking. Oh, that sounds really scary. There are some people who are like, oh, I'd never call an expired or a for sale by. Bless you. And that's okay. In fact, I would argue that the worst thing you could do is kind of what I call a shotgun approach, which is, just try everything all at once, right? Because what's going to happen when you do that is you're going to become, incredibly frustrated because nothing feels like nothing's happening. And it's going to feel like nothing's happening because you're not giving your attention to one thing. You're spread too thin. And so what I say to people is get really, really good at one form of lead generation. Look at all the different types of lead generation there are. There are some people that do the internet leads. Zero judgment. I don't do it. I never have, but if I had to, I would, right? I have just found other ways of lead generation that either come easy to me or I enjoy, or that I just happen to be really good at, that have worked for me. But I think one of the biggest mistakes that I see newer agents make is they just train themselves to death, right? I mean, training is good and it's necessary, but is it if you're not implementing what you're learning? Or if you're trying to do too much at once, because if you try to do too much at once, you're not getting really good at anything, any one thing. And so pick something that speaks to you, that you're comfortable with, that feels good, that you're finding leads from. Get really, really, really good at that first, like to the point where you could come up here and teach a class on it. That kind of good. No, by the way, you don't have to be that good to come up and teach a class. You're looking at a prime example of that, right? You just tell your truth and your story and how you got to where you are, and people will resonate with that, especially if you're finding success in whatever it is that you're doing. So you have to figure out what that is on your own. Sometimes you do have to try several different types before you find that niche, and that's okay. But do me a favor, do yourself a favor, actually. And once you have tried a few different types of lead generation, pick one, get really good at it. Then once you've mastered that, once you feel like you come up here and teach a class on it, then add in another one, get really good at that, then add in another one. That's the way to be able to build a proper foundation that will allow you to have several, different forms of lead generation that are going to work for your business. So with that being said, I'm curious in the room, because we have, a lot of agents here that have been in the business for a while and a lot that are quite successful, some that are newer and are already finding success. So I'm just curious, please be brave, shout it out. Is there anyone in the room, beyond Jessica and Adam here, who just mentioned door knocking, that has chosen either recently or over the years, a particular form of lead generation that works really well for them, that's willing to share?
I don't know that mine is working for me, but I've been doing the movies in the park for this is my second year. And that the goal of that was to get in front of the community and do some lead generation that way. So I've been able to gather a lot of people's contact information. Usually it's kids' information. So when I call, it's a kid's cell phone or something, but I'm hoping that this will continue to build and get me to what I'm looking for. But I'm just figuring it out as I go. I think this year I got better at it. I sold myself more in front of the crowd. Last year I had over 600 people attend the events.
Wow.
This year it's been a little slower because it didn't have rain. But I'm just trying to figure that out. So
When you're featured in the flyer, in the couch or flyer, which is great.
Yeah.
It goes off on one phone.
I love that you shared that, Mo. I love that you shared that. And I love, Jessica, that you shared that you saw her in that newsletter.
Because I didn't know.
I read them all the time. You were there, so yeah.
And I love this as an example because it reminds me of one day I was walking out of church one Sunday. I was still relatively new in the business. I got licensed in June and it was in the summer. So I'm a couple months probably in the business, but I told you that I decided to focus on open houses. So I did them every single weekend without fail. It didn't matter if it was 4th of July, Easter weekend, Mother's Day weekend, I was doing open houses. And all of the experienced agents were more than happy to give me their open houses because they were up at the cabin or spending time with grandma or at Easter dinner. And they all looked at me like I was nuts because I was willing to take, these open house opportunities. But for what I lacked in skill and experience, I had spades and tenacity. I'm pretty tenacious. And when I make my mind up about something, and actually when I first got into the business, I had someone kind of be like, come back and talk to us when, you're more experienced. And I thought, oh, I'll show you. And he has called me every single year. I didn't join his brokerage. I've never been with that brokerage, but he has called me every single year and we laugh about that conversation. He's like, boy, did you teach me a lesson, right? So I'm that person who, when you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to show you that I can and then some, right? So, okay, I lost it. Someone help me get back to where I was.
Church was.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. I told you it would happen. I warned y'all. I warned you it would happen. Fortunately, probably not the last time. So I focused on open houses. I was doing them every single weekend. Started with Sunday, then 2 on Sunday, then 1 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday, 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday, every weekend. Okay, you guys get the picture. So I mean, I was starting to get some traction, but I wasn't super busy yet. And I was kind of I was a little crazy with my signs. Like I put them everywhere when I had an open house opportunity. I put them out early and I would leave them out after the open house, not too long, but just long enough. And I am fortunate and enough to have kind of a fun last name, right? So the duck in there, people remember, and we would have fun with it. Calls to get your ducks in a row. When Zach got licensed, it was calls because we'd give a duck, which made me really uncomfortable at first. I'm thinking, I don't know. Turns out people love it. Even the older folk, which are the ones who I was, worried about, because they just remember it and they want to do business with people who seem to be fun or were having fun. So I'm walking out of church. And Marianne Asklin, she's, I think, still a licensed agent in the business today, wasn't at the time. I'm walking to my car and Erin, I was so calling my name and turn around, there's Marianne. She's like, oh, I'm so glad I caught you. She's like, I just can't believe how wildly successful you are in real estate. Like, I feel like you just started yesterday and I see your signs everywhere. And my sister wants to list her home and sell it. And, I told her she's got to talk to you because you're the area expert. I thought to myself, and she talking to me, like, me? I had been licensed maybe 2 or 3 months, but here's the thing. Perception sometimes isn't reality, right? She saw my open house signs every single weekend after weekend after weekend after weekend because I was taking any open house opportunity that would come my way. And so she assumed that I had just, taken off immediately in real estate. And of course, I would never be dishonest with someone, but I wasn't about ready to correct her. And she's like, oh my gosh, you're just taking off. You're doing amazing. I'm like, yeah, I'm having fun. It's great. How can I help you? So she ended up referring her sister to me, and I helped her sister sell her home and purchase a new one. And then a few years later, Marianne got licensed. So the point is, even when you feel like what you're doing isn't working, even if you don't see the immediate results, I promise you, people are paying attention. Your name is hitting the newsletter. They're seeing your signs out and about town. But the thing is, you have to be consistent in those activities in order to see that kind of response and see those kind of results. So keep doing what you're doing.
Parade on Sunday, and I had yesterday. I did get an email from the Smile Industry that's opening in Cottage Grove, and because I walked, I had Fly with Mo on the front and Movies with Mo on the back. The guy emailed me yesterday or on Sunday night and said, "Hey, I seen you in the parade, and I forgot that I wanted to get into Movies with Mo. You're still being sponsored."
Love it.
So I mean, just from walking the parade, I mean, that was a pretty cool thing, because I've been walking parades for the last 2 months.
Guys, we should all be our own walking billboards. Every single one of us, right? I mean, I used to be way more obnoxious about it than I am now, because I'm not really, I'm in sales, but not in it full time like you guys. But I would wear a name tag everywhere. I'll never forget one Sunday in church. Everything happens at church, apparently. If, for those of you who are Catholic in the room, we do this thing called the sign of peace. And that was my moment to, give my husband a sign of peace. And he always give me a little peck on the cheek. And one Sunday he looks down and I'm like waiting for my peck, and he sees my name tag and he looks up at me and he pulls me tight. And I'm like, oh, here it comes. And he's like, really, Erin? Really? This was before he got in real estate. I was wearing my name tag in church because I advertised on the church bulletin. And I'm like, what? Anyway, so we should be our own walking billboards, right? So go out and get the KW gear, get the name of your team gear, whether it's a ball cap, whether it's a sweatshirt, whether it's a name tag, any opportunity that I had I raced 4 little boys, right? So they were in every sport known to man, literally, except for hockey. I don't know how we missed that one. Maybe that one got thrown in the trash because I heard about like 5 a.m. ice time practices. That one might not have made its way in front of them. But every other sport known to man they played. And so you know, when we would have meetings and they would ask for a parent to volunteer to put together the treat schedule, I was like, that's me. I'll do that. Why do you think I volunteered to do that? What was I gonna get access to? Right? All of the families, names, phone numbers, addresses. I would put together the treat schedule and I would email it out to everyone. From what email do you think? Right? I wasn't being obnoxious and saying, hey, here's a treat schedule. Know anyone looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate? No, I didn't do that. But I put together the treat schedule and I would send it from my work email as a reminder. Hey, and then how do you think I showed up at the ball games? Full KW gear, full KW gear. And whether it was my turn to bring treats or not, I would bring a cooler full of bottled water, or I might have replaced the labels on the water bottle label with a KW label or something, right? So Denise.
Just one little thing to add, so you talked about the KW gear, and I know, as an agent starting out, it gets expensive. So look at getting some of that branded gear, but take your own stuff and take it to bring it embroidered. That way it's a lot more affordable, it's maybe something you already have and wear, and just be KW added to it.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, there are all kinds of things. Gosh, you guys, I mean, they didn't have Pinterest and TikTok and Instagram and well, they might have had some of that, but it wasn't popular like it is today, right? There's so many different things that people are doing inexpensively in order to be able to promote themselves and promote their businesses. So don't be shy. Okay, so, yes, Jessica.
I was gonna say, this past weekend, my husband was at a meeting for volleyball for my daughter. And he's like, hey, I just wanna let you know, I signed you up to be the parent, the team parent. And I was like, oh, okay. And he's like, yeah, I pretty laughed. And I said, well, what does that mean though? And he's like, well, it means you just have to email people. I'm like, from what email? He's like, oh. I said, so you can sign me up for that anytime.
Yeah, there you go. See?
Yeah.
There you go. Anyone else come up with anything creative or doing anything creative? Movies in the park with Mo. What are some other things that y'all are doing? Carly's gonna follow this up with some really amazing events that they put on, so she's gonna give you some great ideas, but are there other ways of lead generation that you guys have tapped into that's working really well? Savannah?
One event that we do is Santa Claus, so
I love this one, by the way. Can you explain what Santa Claus is? Yeah.
so we have that in the brewery. Last year we had that ballman at Egan, and Michelle's brother actually dressed up as Santa Claus, and we have this cute little setup at the bench on the street, and people can come and bring their dogs in and get like a free photo of their dog with Santa. And then after, you know, they go to the next room into like the brewery area room, and they can sit like have drinks and food and stuff like that, and then we collect their phone number and their email, like their contact information, and some can do their address because we live in live option lineups. But then we're able to put them in our database and reach out to them with photos.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, do you guys send that just to your sphere and your database, or is it public as well? Like public can come
so
in?
we do like a Facebook event.
Okay.
And so I think that goes out to more people, because a lot of people we had no idea.
Right.
And then Baldwin also, so I make a flyer and then Baldwin posts it on like your event board. For people to see too, so. Yeah,
Awesome.
that's really cool, and you just get it.
Awesome. What else? Any others?
National Night Out.
Hosting National Night Out. I saw you did that. How did that go? Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. And we got a lot of new neighbors in our area, so I mean, they just bought, but that's okay. I mean,
Yeah.
there were some other ones that we met too that are looking to buy, they're living at their parents' house, stuff like that. And my neighbors are really old, so they're turning over now.
Yeah.
So, what was the- Which one? Oh, National Night Out, that was back on like
August. Yeah, it's always in August, like the beginning of August. Yeah. Yep.
You know, for your community, so you can get ahead of them.
A lot of times someone in the neighborhood will spearhead and like they'll invite the police to come and they'll come and talk to the kids and, you know, usually people are at the, like the end of their driveway barbecuing, or I saw you had like a table set up in the middle of a cul-de-sac. Yeah, that was great. Great
And we
idea.
barbecued hot dogs and we had a popcorn machine and did popcorn and stuff, and it was, by the most sponsor.
Right,
I didn't
right.
ask the neighbors, because usually you ask your neighbors to bring stuff, but I didn't ask them. And then Spar gave us a $50 gift card. If you were gonna hold National Night Out, they give you a.
Oh, hear that?
and a
That's
case
awesome.
of water.
Oh, wow.
You know, so they Spar pretty much helped me those things.
Great. So what a wonderful way to get to know your neighbors or get the word out in your own neighborhood that
And
you're
you
in real
work
estate.
Forward to bring the flyer, to
Right.
say that you're listening to the flyer. So
Right.
that gave me, that was my first time door knocking.
Yeah. And I bet if you want to get really creative and partner with a lender like Mike right there in the background for National Night Out, he'd probably, you know, set up a table too and donate some hot dogs or water or something like that, right?
One thing that I've been part of is post-closing party. So everybody, after you close, you may buy food, you may buy some beers, whatever the case may be, but those people are so proud of their home. They're inviting all their friends, and you guys are sitting there smiling, right? And it's so soft, but people are happy as ever. All their friends and family are coming. There you said.
Absolutely.
And Erin, my
Yes.
family started doing these hot socks.
Oh,
I mean, you know, socks are really in right now and they're like $6. And Mary
I
Slusher,
love it.
yeah, and Mary Slusher, my person, I mean, they are just really funny, you know what I mean? And when one person like them, it's their birthday, how come we didn't get them? So you're right, I mean, doing different things. And socks are really popular right now, I guess.
So how are you, did you get it back closing? How are you getting them?
Um,
Just like fun, you just
so-
everyone's want to send in?
My sister Sandy's a little bolder, she gives them to them right away and says, I'm gonna knock your socks off.
Oh, how
I'm
cute.
not, I don't have that ego, you know, kind of a little softer.
I love that. I love that. Come on, yeah. Well, I am shocked that that makes you uncomfortable. I love that.
Yeah, so Ally and I, a lot of times do her generation, my generation, if the parents come, we can do the parents right away. So it's just kind of like you said, it's just interesting and almost when you give somebody something, they almost feel like they're like, oh, she gave me
Well, and
something.
I sort of wanna coach you to elevate it, and like you just send a surprise, they get it in the mail, and put them on, post on social media and tag us and be entered to win a $5 gift card to
Yeah.
Starbucks.
Ally had a listing on the St. Croix and we said, take a picture of our billboard.
Yeah.
So
Yes, I love that. I love that. Yeah, of course. Thanks for sharing. I want some now.
yeah, I know.
Do I have to buy a house to get one, to get
No,
one?
you can just have it here.
All right, I love it. Yeah. Yes, Sherry.
Well, something I do also, is I have invested in some Yetis with my name.
Yes, everybody loves a Yeti.
Business. Every time I get a referral, I
Yeah.
deliver it to that person's house to get a referral.
Right,
So,
who doesn't want a Yeti?
right?
That's a great idea.
And I have now people going, how do I get a Yeti?
Send me a
So
referral.
my mom gave me a referral the other day. She goes, am I gonna get a Yeti?
I love it. I love it. I know that, I know agents who have in the past, when you have someone in your sphere that has just had a baby, that will send like a $5 Caribou card with a congratulations saying, hey, for those late nights that you're probably experiencing right now. I mean, think about it. Like, I like the ideas like the socks and the Yetis and the coffee cards, things that are unexpected. Like, you know, around the holidays, we do those things and those are important too, right? Like we do photos with Santa here, we do pictures with the Easter Bunny here, we do a trunk or treat here, we do our $1,000 cash giveaway here. And all of those things are great and we always get really good participation with those. I like the unexpected things. Like, oh my goodness, if I was a new mom and my realtor sent me a congratulations card with a coffee card with something cute and kitschy, like, hey, for those late nights that you're probably experiencing with the new baby right now, I would be like, that is so thoughtful. That is so memorable. And I also think too, that you know, the art of handwritten thank yous and cards have fallen by the wayside. I don't know if you guys are like me, but when I pull into the driveway, I go to the mailbox and and the mail hasn't been collected yet, I'm like, trash, trash, trash. Like it was just marketing stuff, right? It's hitting my recycling bin before I even make it inside the door. But anytime I get something that's handwritten, I'm like, ooh, and that goes to the top because, you know, it's fun to get something handwritten and you're curious about what that is. And it's likely the first thing that I open when I get inside. So don't underestimate. There was an agent that I used to coach. Her name's Paula Waylucky. She's in Florida now, and she was the queen. You're actually really good at this too, Jessica. You both are. The queen of being very purposeful, 10 handwritten notes a day without failure. She would do that. And her career took off pretty quickly. Yeah. And she was really good at that.
So
Yes.
Erin, I'm a second generation realtor, but my mom Lori, she did that nonstop and she got so many business with people cleaning out their stuff and finding an old card. So she was really good at that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, stop and think about, it's kind of a treat when you get something like that. Yes, Jessica.
That's one of the follow-ups we have is when we door knock up a star, if it was a good communication, and then write a card to them, and then give more information in that, and mail it out to them.
I guarantee, they're gonna remember. Absolutely, they're gonna remember. It's the little thoughtful touches, you know, and doing something that, guys, we have to differentiate ourselves. We have so much competition in this business, right? So, what is your value proposition? How are you gonna stand out from the competition? Yes, we should be doing the tried and true things, you know, a lot of things that we've talked about already today. Those are, the basics, I'll call them, right? Some of the basics, those are important to have a really good foundation. But what is it? Think about your personality. Think about the things that you enjoy doing, you know, outside of work. What are things that you can incorporate into your business? Or what are some things that make you unique that you can focus on to make you stand out from the crowd? You know, why would someone want to hire you over someone else? And I'll tell you, people like to do business with people who they know, like, and trust. That's where they start. You know, if I need a new, I don't know, if I need my AC furnace, which in the next couple of days, we all might need that, right? From the sounds of it. You know, if I know someone who's in that field, even if I don't know them very well at all, I'm likely gonna start with them, right? I'm gonna start with them first. And so, you know, think of things, or ways that will make you stand out or get in front of people so that when that time comes and real estate is mentioned, they remember you. Who here is pretty active on social media? Either all the social medias or a social media platform? I don't see very many hands, and I'm shocked, I have to say. Okay, all right, we're just being shy, right? Guys, there was a time in real estate, you know, not that long ago, I told you I've been in the business 22 years, where we paid a couple $1,000 a month to advertise where? Where? In the newspaper. Who does that anymore? There are a few, but I mean, not many. Like, we used to have to fight to get colored space, colored ads in the newspaper. And we did that because, you know, you had to. I mean, you didn't have to, but you had to in order to be noticed and seen and compete. Guys, social media is the newspaper now. And guess what? It's free. Or if you want to boost ads, you can do it at a very, very nominal cost. It's nowhere near what I was spending.
Hey, when I do open houses and I get out in time, a nice little ad for 4 or 5 days, boosting that, I see more people come through.
Interesting. And what do you pay for that?
25 bucks.
Guys, I mean, literally, we would spend several $100s a week on newspaper ads.
It works.
Yeah.
Facebook is amazing. I mean, like on that page, I get so, just by reminding people I'm in real estate, like you say, it's free. My thing is every fifth post is a real estate
Yep.
post. And,
And please put it on your personal page, right?
right, personal.
On your personal
I
page.
have my business one, but
Yep.
I only. do
Goes on your
that.
personal.
But I like, you can find an ad from like realtor.com or whatever, it's shareable. And it can be a relevant ad, and I go, this was really interesting this morning, and I thought I would share it with you. Or my lender will do a video, and it'll be about rates or something,
Mhm.
and I'll share it. I mean, so I'm giving them something, it's not just, oh, I'm in real estate.
You want to be perceived as the local expert, as the go-to expert. When people think about, oh, should I refinance or should I sell? Oh, Sherry just posted a really amazing article that talked about interest rates.
Yep, and I talk about resources. I'm the person that has a resource for you. Are you remodeling? Are you thinking of selling? Do you need, you know, whatever you need a plumber, you know, check with me first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have some reliable people. So people are always calling me saying, I'm thinking about this. It's
100%.
just another touch, like you're talking about, top of mind.
The key is being consistent. She said about every fourth or fifth post, be consistent. Guys, it's free. Why are we should be taking advantage of every single social media site out there. Instagram, TikTok, Snap. I don't get that one. I'm probably not going to use that one. It confuses me. Facebook is the one I probably utilize, you know, at a really high level. I love that they added reels in there because a lot of people like Instagram because of the videos and the photos. And please, I think most of you know this in here because we preach about it all the time around here, but The open rate for videos is exponentially higher than just a static post made on Canva. Do those two, those are good, but anyone in here not know that we have a video room here? A production room where we can go and film videos, like we made it real easy. Amy, I'm looking at you because your video game, man, it is through the roof. You have really stepped it up, I feel like, this year.
That room a couple times a week.
Yeah, and I absolutely love it. I'm like, yes, and they're simple, they're not super long. You don't take and you don't take yourself too seriously either. That's the other thing, and that's what kept me from doing video way longer than it should have, was in my mind, it had to be perfect. It had to be rehearsed. You know what, my best videos that people comment on the most are the ones that I just do on the fly, or there's some sort of, what do they call it? What are the mistakes in the beginning? Bloopers, right? Or there's a blooper in there. So Dylan and I filmed one for Day of the Ducks this morning, and you can hear Ann say, "Okay, go." And I was like, "Oh, I can't use that." I'm like, "No, I'm using it." Right? It's kind of endearing, right? And then he high-fived me at the end, which I was completely not expecting. And I'm like, "Okay, this is weird." And so I walk away giggling, but I wouldn't be surprised if that gets, some pretty good views, because people want to see what you're doing. They want to be a part of what you're doing. They want to experience what you're doing. So if you're not doing videos right now, please, I would love for you to make a commitment to make that a part of your weekly routine. You can get a ring light on Amazon for $30 that you just plop your cell phone into. I mean, we've literally, with our video room in the back, I've taken all the excuses away from people now, because I was one of those people. Well, I don't have a ring light. Well, I don't have the equipment. Oh, I forgot it at home. It's not set up. Agents can literally walk in there, plug in and go, right? You can create that same thing for yourself for less than $100, really inexpensively. Jessica.
I was gonna say, when I did the 12 days of Christmas, and I did a giveaway, and it was with agents, and, but I figured.
Was that video series that I
Yes,
loved?
yes.
That was
I'm like,
so
well, just
fun.
Put it on for everybody.
Can you
Like,
explain to them what you did? Because I loved this idea.
Yeah, so, I was the PC in Burnsville, and, we had agents, it was like a contest, like, if you do this, then you can win this, right? And so each day I'd pull somebody, either an agent or a leadership person in, we would do a video, and I would not prep them at all for anything, right? So they love that, right? They're like.
And they're
"Why are you-"
nervous.
Yeah, but, it showed their personality through it. And I thought, it doesn't matter if I'm doing this for work, I could share this with everybody. And people would message me, my sphere, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, you're so funny. What do we need? I don't need to see another one." And I'm like, "Well, there's 12 days, right?" So, and then they were like, "When are you gonna do that again?" And I'm like, I was. But it's that whole thing, like, oh, they like it, and
Mhm.
I. like
And you were
doing it.
consistent because you had to be, because there were 12
Right,
days, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes picking a project that is where you don't have a choice, like for 12 days, that's actually brilliant. And you might not have even realized at the time
Right,
that it was
Yeah,
gonna cause you to
so-
have to put out 12 videos.
right. So the goal was, we had to get 36 pieces of business under contract in a time span. And so then if we did that, the people who had a piece of business were entered into the drawing. And so then every day we would draw a name, and then we would announce who it was. But like I had fun too, going out and shopping for the stuff. So like we did movie night, and it was a blanket, popcorn, and candy, right?
Mhm.
And so then like at one point.
And by the way, you could do that with clients, right? Do a 12
Yeah.
days of Christmas. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be super expensive. It could be very simple.
Right, so then we had a blanket, and the person was like this when the video started, right? And it was like, guess who it is, right? And so they had a lot of fun with it, and, but you could tell the personality of the people who went up, because some were like, just like, no words, no nothing. I'm like, okay, maybe next time you don't have to be at this, right? Because they were like, I hate doing this, right? Because Carly did it, but she was like, I don't know.
Right back there.
Yeah, she's like, I don't know if, this is really that great.
But you're right, you could pick up the personalities of the different people, and the whole thing of that was you were having fun,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And people were intrigued, so they would hit play and
Yeah,
watch.
yeah.
So
And they're
there's-
short, they were.
yeah, that's the other
a
thing, is
minute
they
or
have to be
less.
short, a minute or less. All right, we are 5 till, so I feel like I went, before I, give you guys 5 minutes to go take a break and Carly gets set up. What's one thing that you took away from this particular class today that you're, contemplating, implementing, or excited to implement? Mike, I see your hand first.
3 important words: consistent, persistent, patient.
Yeah.
Guys, it's a tough business, right? Listen to the pros and just keeping you.
Yeah.
It will pay off.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Who else? Denise.
Tactic, get good at it, stay with it before you bring on something else, try not to do it.
Yes, amen, amen. Linear.
For me, it was how are you showing up? Because obviously with the property management business company, I'm so involved in that on a day-to-day basis that I forget to constantly market for sales.
Mhm.
And
And that is an amazing compliment to your property management business, as I know you know, but yeah. Awesome. What else?
Own your choices, you are where you are because you are okay with it.
Yeah, oof, that's a hard one. It gets me right here every time, every time.
That was mine too, I wrote it down in 2 different places.
Yeah, it's a good one. That's one of those things that I want to have like on a piece of paper, eye level, that I can look at every day. What else? All right, well, I appreciate you guys spending an hour with me this morning.
thank you.
You are in for a real treat. Take about a 5-minute break, but Carly is going to go through the events that they hold as a team on a budget. So for those of you, if you were like me at one point in my career who thought that just seems like a mountain that I don't have the time, energy, or money to climb, right? She is going to break it all down for you and make it very realistic, very simple, and very cost effective. So if you guys want to get something to drink, refresh your cups there, go to the bathroom, be back in 5 minutes. Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much, that was really great. Because it's so nice, if you want to just drive down here, they want to set up so you're
Yeah.